another British question from Laura Koonsberg from the BBC.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've made your views very plain on the fact that British voters should choose to stay in the EU. But in the interest of good friends always being honest, are you also saying that our decades-old special relationship that's been through so much would be fundamentally damaged and changed by our exit? If so, how? And do you have any sympathy with people who think this is none of your business? And Prime Minister, to you, if I may, some of your colleagues believe it's utterly wrong that you have dragged our closest ally into the EU referendum campaign. What do you say to them? And is it appropriate for the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, to have brought up President Obama's Kenyan ancestry in the context of this debate?
Well, there's a British question. Let me go first. First of all, questions for Boris are questions for Boris. They're not questions for me. I don't have some special power over the President of the United States. Barack feels strongly about this and has said what he said. And as I said, it's our decision as a sovereign people, the choice we make about Europe, but I think it's right to listen to and consider the advice of your friends. And, just to amplify one of the points that Barack made, we have a shared interest of making sure Europe takes a robust approach to Russian aggression. And if you take those issues of the sanctions that we put in place through the European Union, I think I can put my hand on my heart and say that Britain played a really important role and continues to play an important role in making sure those sanctions were put in place and kept in place. I'm not sure it would have happened if we weren't there. Now, if it's in our interests, and it is in our interest for Europe to be strong against aggression, how can it be in our interests not to be at that table and potentially to see those sanctions not take place? And I think it's been that working between Britain and the United States over this issue that has helped to make a big difference. I would just say about the special relationship, to me, and I'm passionate about this, and I believe it very, very deeply for all the reasons of the history and the language and the culture, but also about the future of our country. And the truth is this: the stronger Britain is, and the stronger America is, the stronger that relationship will be. And I want Britain to be as strong as possible. And we draw our strength from all sorts of things that we have as a country. The 5th largest economy in the world, amazing armed forces, brilliant security and intelligence forces that we were discussing about how well they work together. Incredibly talented people, brilliant universities, the fact that we're members of NATO, the G7, the G20, the Commonwealth. But we also draw strength and project power and project our values and protect our people and make our country wealthier and our people wealthier by being in the European Union. So I want Britain to be as strong as possible. And the stronger Britain is, the stronger that special relationship is, and the more that we can get done together to make sure that we have a world that promotes democracy and peace and human rights and the development that we want to see across the world. So to me it's simple. Stronger Britain, stronger special relationship, that's in our interests, and that's in the interest of the United States of America as well.
Let me start with Winston Churchill. I don't know if people are aware of this, but in the residence on the 2nd floor, my office, my private office, is called the Treaty Room. And right outside the door of the Treaty Room, so that I see it every day, including on weekends when I'm going into that office to watch a basketball game. The primary image I see is a bust of Winston Churchill. It's there voluntarily because I can do anything on the 2nd floor. I love Winston Churchill. Love the guy. Now, when I was elected as President of the United States, my predecessor had kept a Churchill bust in the Oval Office. There are only so many tables where you can put busts. Otherwise, it starts looking a little cluttered. And I thought it was appropriate, and I suspect that most people here in the United Kingdom might agree, that as the first African American president, it might be appropriate to have a bust of Dr. Martin Luther King in my office to remind me of all the hard work of a lot of people who would somehow allow me to have the privilege of holding this office. That's just on Winston Churchill. I think people should know that, know my thinking there. With respect to the special relationship, I have a staff member who will not be named, because it might embarrass her a little bit, who generally on foreign trips does not leave the hotel or the staff room because she's constantly doing work making this happen. She has had one request the entire time that I have been president, and that is, could she accompany me to Windsor on the off chance that she might get a peek at Her Majesty the Queen. And gracious as she is, Her Majesty actually had this person, along with a couple of others, lined up so that as we emerged from lunch, they could say hello. And this staff person, who is as tough as they come, almost fainted, and which was, I'm glad she didn't, because it would have caused an incident. That's the special relationship. We are so bound together that nothing's going to impact the emotional and cultural and intellectual affinities between our two countries. So I don't come here suggesting in any way that that is impacted by a decision that the people of the United Kingdom may make around whether or not they're members of the European Union. That is there. That's solid. And that will continue, hopefully eternally. And the cooperation in all sorts of ways, through NATO, through G7, G20, all those things will continue. But, as David said, if one of our best friends is in an organization that enhances their influence and enhances their power and enhances their economy, then I want them to stay in it. Or at least I want to be able to tell them, you know, I think this makes you guys bigger players. I think this helps your economy. I think this helps to create jobs. And so ultimately it's your decision, but precisely because we're bound at the hip, I want you to know that.